A badge of honor. A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COLE credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Hey, doing great. And let's thank our major sponsor, OBBM Network. Thank you to them for helping us out with the show each week. Couldn't do it without you. And hey, everybody, whether you're watching us live here or listening on your favorite podcast app, we welcome you to another fantastic and fun-filled, informational Monday podcast. John just got back from the Axon Roadshow because today is World Mental Health Day. And Axon, for those of you who are not familiar, first of all, they're wonderful partners of ours. But anytime you see a police body cam video, that's Axon. That's Axon technology right there. Also dash cams, etc. And they ventured into the wellness space a bunch of years back, produced programming, some videos. And that's where we met them a couple of years ago. And fast forward to today, we are out at Grand Prairie PD. Thank you, Grand Prairie, for hosting everybody. It was a wonderful event. You could take part in their virtual reality. The road show, I mean, they are hitting city after city out at different departments. It's a giant 18-wheeler. So they drive in this 18-wheeler, and the entire back portion it's set up in 3 segments. And so we did some filming out there. The officers and the other first responders could come out and participate in, like I said, some VR activities and some other fun things. And it was a chance to really shed light on what mental health means, both from a first responder aspect, but also from the world aspect, because mental health, whether you're in a first responder role or you're a citizen, you know, it affects you. So thank you, Axon. Really appreciate the partnership and having us out there.
You know, speaking about mental health, and I just saw, Conrad just signed on with PTSD 911, the movie that's going to be coming out and being released real soon. Actually, next month, correct?
November 3rd.
November 3rd here. And Texas is one of the primary places where it's going to open its show over in, Irving, right?
Irving, yep.
Irving. So please be sure to look at our website to get tickets and get registered for the first showing of PTSD 911, the movie by Conrad Weaver. It's very impactful. I saw a lot of the trailers. It is going to be one hell of a movie. I tell you, he spent a lot of years on this movie doing a lot of interviews with first responders all over the country. And one thing I think I love that he hit on was when we talk about post-traumatic stress, when we talk about stress injuries in our first responder, everything seems to focus around either the law enforcement aspect or the paramedics. You know, we seem to forget the firefighter aspect in that because, you know, they're tucked away in their own little home, sleeping in their beds, playing their Nintendos. But, you know, they do get that same stress. They are affected in the same exact way as law enforcement and paramedics and 911 telecommunication officers. Same thing. PTS is PTS. But we seem not to focus so much on that. And I think that's a sad fact, because we've had a lot of firefighter suicides in the last couple of years, and they kind of get tucked away. Nobody really seems to think that, these heroes, these guys that are going into the burning buildings, the car accidents, the drownings, and the training, the intense training that they have to do on a daily basis. No one understands that puts your mind into a hypervigilant state consistently. You are constantly watching each other's back when you're going into a house fire or a building fire, or you got to worry about getting hit by a car on a car accident or a drunk driver. And there's so much that goes into it. And I'm glad for our guests that we have on, because this is really I think it's one of the first times we've really dug deep into the firefighter aspect. And I know Conrad has interviewed a lot of firefighters on his upcoming movie, which, man, when I watched it, I was like, wow, it brought back so many memories, brought back so much stuff.
Yeah, and it's we think about firefighters and everybody, it's the wildfires
or the calendar. They think of women. They're like, oh yeah, firefighters. They're so buff and and they go on the calendars on my kitchen wall.
But yeah, there is a whole a different aspect, a wellness component. Physical fitness is important, just like as mental wellness in being a firefighter. And our guest tonight is Nick Magoteaux from Brothers Helping Brothers. Nick, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Hi, Sam. Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Let's dive right in, because John brought up an excellent point that a lot of, when we're talking about post-traumatic stress injury, people's first thought is, with first responders, is police.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding, or I'll say it's the lack of understanding that a lot of people have, that, you guys get to go back to the firehouse after whatever the incident is, and because you're together, that's all you need. You debrief.
Right. It is nice that we do have crews and are together, but at the same time, everybody struggles differently. I know one of the big things, and it's big now in the fire service community, is peer support, which not only is that just maybe the people on duty on within your crew, but others coming from off duty, or people that you feel comfortable talking with, and those people are trained to send you, if you're a little too far gone, that you might need to see a mental health professional, recognizing those symptoms and taking those people, even if it is, taking them by the hand and taking them to the hospital where they need to be seen or treated. Unfortunately, with firefighters, it does seem like there are a lot of health risks, mental and physical health risks that go on. And, that's one of the things that we've, identified as being an issue. So we wanted to kind of tackle that head on with one of our conferences. So in 2018, I started noticing that there, a lot of people were talking about cancer in the fire service, which was a huge topic.
Yes.
And then but nobody was talking about the mental health issue. And the mental health piece is just as important as the cancer piece, just as important as exercise and sleep and all nutrition and everything else. But back in 2018, it was still kind of one of those things that a lot of people didn't talk about. So I got with some other people that bring in some speakers to our area, and start our Firefighter Health and Wellness Conference. We basically intertwine things. So you came to hear about cancer research and things like that, and then you got a dose of what you needed to hear, which was about mental health and things like that, and trying to identify those issues. And it's been interesting because we've kind of gone almost as a complete 360 where, now we have, like last year's conference, we had a lot of people that were there for the mental health element of the conference, and not as many people that were there for the, cancer or other types of health, that we focus on. So.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk more about that. We got to take a quick break. We're going to focus on firefighter health and wellness. You're listening to a Badge of Honor podcast with our guest tonight, Nick Magoteaux, from Brothers Helping Brothers. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with Nick from Brothers Helping Brothers. We're diving deep into a couple of different issues here because there's a lot of topics that firefighters go through that we really need to focus on as a first responder. When you talk about the cancer issues that we just left off on, those are issues that we see these commercials, and I'm sure everybody's seen it. Camp Lejeune, if you drank the water, all these different lawsuits that are going on for the cancer for our veterans that happen. We don't see any commercials on the big fires or the toxic fires that these firefighters have been exposed to over the years, or the the stuff, the contaminants, the carcinogens that they breathe in on a daily basis that causes cancers 20 years from now. We look at 9/11. Me and Sam both get screened yearly for cancers, and knock on wood, we've so far been both safe, but I know hundreds of firefighters and responders that have been battling, and we brothers help. There's not enough, especially in the volunteer service. There's not enough. I want to say backing or medical provisions to help these guys through.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, right now, especially, I'm from Ohio, and I can speak, intimately about Ohio's laws and things like that. Ohio does have a presumptive cancer law. Most states do these days, which is great, progress. But a lot of them, do only focus on the professional firefighter, and sometimes leave out the volunteer firefighter when, in fact, volunteers, are diagnosed with cancer just as much, if not more often, than professional firefighters. So it's definitely a crazy world, especially when you consider not only are you have your daily carcinogens as you see in fires and things like that, but even the gear that the firefighters are wearing. They have what's called a forever chemical in them. It's called PFAS. And the PFAS has been proven to be a human carcinogen as well. So not only are you going into environments where you're exposed to carcinogens, your gears contain carcinogens, and you're inhaling that, absorbing that in ways that we are still researching today, and trying to figure out how harmful this is for firefighters. Just like you said, John, with Camp Lejeune, there's many fire departments, not only fire departments, but military fire departments that are still using the AFFF foam that, again, contains the PFAS chemicals in it, and is contaminating the drinking water. I mean, I could vividly remember when I was a volunteer firefighter, we went to this we went to like, basically it was somebody was burning a bunch of junk, and we had gone there once, put it out. We had gone there twice, put it out. We gone there a third time, same day. The third time we're there, the chief's like, I'm sick of this. We're going to put foam on this. I said, oh, okay. So we started pouring foam, and he's like, hey, put the concentration up on like 1, which is 1% is a lot of foam if you know.
We used to fill a firehouse with it.
Right. And I mean, you're getting it in your mouth and everywhere, and it's just, but we didn't know what it, everybody's like, oh, it's safe. Don't worry. It's not bad, but again, it's a hazard of the job. And, as things progress, I mean, we're starting to get more and more smart about these things, obviously, and there's more and more research coming out, but, and more and more laws prohibiting the use of those particular chemicals. But it is something that, firefighters face on a daily basis. I mean, even just the schedule of a fireman or a firefighter or even a volunteer firefighter is considered a human carcinogen. So, the shift work.
Yep.
Shift work is considered a human carcinogen and is something that is, harmful for you if especially in prolonged times, working those 24/48s, or even some of these, crazier guys that work 48/96, it could be very tasking, especially on the body and the mental health and everything. So
it brings your immune system down. It knocks everything down. Going on the gear.
I just want to ask, because John, you and I get asked this all the time. Nick, how long were you a firefighter, and what made you choose firefighting?
So I was a firefighter for 10 years. I've kind of since hung up my helmet and now work in the private sector. But I originally started out, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop. So I was like, I want to be a police officer. So I started at my local sheriff's office originally as a corrections officer, because I was the first step into becoming a police officer. So I started doing that. I was in cadet programs and things like that as a teenager, and then transferred into dispatch eventually. Really enjoyed doing dispatch. Then, started to get to know more people. One of the guys I worked with was a former full-time firefighter that came and started working dispatch instead. And he's like, you should try it. You should, go out there and give it a go.
Sleep. You can sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Think about it. You only work, 21 day every other day, it's great, and so I went ahead and, signed up for, first I started with my EMT, because here in Ohio, you have to be dual certified. So started with my EMT, made it through that, went through the fire academy, did that. And I was like, man, this is not that bad. This is pretty good. So, started my career, unfortunately, in my area, during the times that I was a firefighter. There was a lot, like everybody was a firefighter, it seemed like. And so jobs were very competitive. And, so I worked at 3 part-time departments to make ends meet. And eventually that just took the toll on me, especially because I worked 2 departments that were urban departments, pretty busy. One of them, we take 8,000 calls out of 2 stations a year. So we were quite hopping. So, those were days that you didn't get much sleep. So after some time, I ended up going into the private sector but still continue, doing the Brothers Helping Brothers, and continue the work that, I was passionate about when I was a firefighter as well.
You brought up the gear aspect, and when we talk about volunteers, and I when I was a firefighter back in the late 80s and 90s, it was cool to keep your gear filthy. You were salty, you were seasoned, you were a seasoned veteran. Never clean your helmet. You'd be pissed off someone cleaned your helmet.
Yep.
But nowadays, now it's mandatory in a lot of departments after each call to clean your gear, because each paid department, those guys are issued 2 sets of gear. A volunteer fire department is on a limited budget. Those guys do not have the resources or the means to purchase 2 sets of gear.
Right.
So a lot of them go a long time without cleaning their stuff. So they are constantly breathing that stuff in. And you hear a lot of people go, well, they wear Scott packs, or they're wearing their SCBAs. Well, yeah, that's true. But, when a lot of people don't know what, like with fire, you'll wear it for the initial fire, but you're going to take it off during an overhaul. And that's when everything is smoldering. And that's where you're going to get sick during overhaul.
Yeah.
We're going to come back and talk about firefighter health, safety, and gear as we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Brothers Helping Brothers.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. We are talking with, We're talking with Nick from Brothers Helping Brothers. Welcome back, Nick. How are you? Oh, sorry. Got a little thing caught in my throat. It's all the smoke I've been breathing in.
There you
go. When we talk about the now, let's look at that physical aspect of cancer, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're going to slowly transition into the mental aspect, right? So when you're a young firefighter, you start learning about the cancers that you could have when you retire. That weighs heavy on your mind, right? So that right there too. Now you're worrying about cancer scares and screenings and what's going to happen later on in life. That puts your mindset into a different focus. On top of everything else you have to deal with, now you got the medical, the mental, and the physical aspects clashing together, right?
Right.
When you turned around and talked about the peer support within the fire department, and I think it's great, but we look at peer support as a crisis intervention. When they have a bad accident or a bad fire or they lose a firefighter, right? They do not have I haven't seen, I could be wrong, I haven't seen, and I've been in a lot of firehouses, the posters on the wall for stress decompression, for resources to reach out to other things, because yes, we have those big calls, but that's stacked trauma. That's going to come out one day, all right, and that's going to cause a lot of problems. And you in Ohio, are they doing anything about that? Are they addressing it in any way?
Yeah, so I think things are slowly starting to change. I think the departments are more and more realizing it. Here in Ohio, we were fortunate that the governor put towards some of the American Recovery Plan money, specifically towards mental health for first responders. I've seen a lot of departments, police departments, fire departments are moving towards having like a wellness officer that kind of coordinates this. I know our local department here in Dayton actually has clinicians that visit the stations. So even if there's no, not after a call or anything like that, they're continuously coming in and checking in on the firefighters.
That's awesome.
They're getting, feedback from people like, hey, you might want to talk to, Joe. He's been having some, a lot of marital issues or something along those lines. And just being able to recognize that, I think is the most important part, and it's nice to see that there is some progress towards it, where there are, people out there that are, departments out there that are actually, being involved in it and actually doing something about it. I think you'll see more and more clinicians start coming on, just like, you've probably seen, as a trend in the police world, that, you have social workers riding with officers now to help with mentally unstable people or
I hate to say it, but I'm not in agreement with that. I'm just, I have
It's
to.
it's a
I'm gonna
little
put
bit
that-
of a liability, but
I put that out there
yeah,
because
it's different.
yeah, especially on the law enforcement, the social workers working. I think social workers are great after the fact,
right.
but that's just another person that an officer's got to worry about in a patrol car and on a scene. It just puts. I'm sorry, that's just my personal. Those are my personal feelings on that.
No, to me, I don't know enough knowledge about it, to be honest. I just know that, like, for our area, for example, they do have those social workers that are riding with officers. But I think that will see more clinicians in the settings with the officers, hopefully with firefighters. I know I actually just went to a retreat a couple months ago that's held in Columbus. It's a great retreat. It's called the Bridge Retreat, and it's specifically not only just for firefighters, but it's specifically for police, fire, EMS, corrections, 911. It's an all-encompassing retreat, and they have breakout groups for each of those areas during the weekend. It's completely free. Wow. It's a really great retreat. But they're the nice part, like, so they kind of use Columbus as a model almost. Columbus has its own like EAP, and I know sometimes when you think about EAP, an employee assistance program, it's a negative connotation because, well, I called them and they don't understand what I go through because I'm a police officer, I'm a firefighter. And yeah, that is true, but they kind of recognize that, and they've started their own EAP program where they have people that specifically know knowledge about first responders. They're actually even opening up their own health and wellness or mental health program within the city, similar to kind of like the IAFF has in Maryland. So it's really great to see that there's steps forward. I mean, there's a lot of still things that need to be done because, like, even like, for example, in Ohio, PTSD is not covered under workman's comp. So if you are experiencing some sort of PTSD symptoms from an incident or trauma over extended periods of time, if you need to go and seek treatment, especially maybe something that's an inpatient treatment, you're using your own sick time and vacation time to cover that. And again, another thing just to add more stress to the problem, right? Yep. But I think as research continues and people see how this affects people and how this affects recruitment and retention, even that they'll start opening up those avenues to make it easier for first responders to get the help that they need.
Now, you do a lot with health and wellness and Brothers Helping Brothers, but you go beyond that. We were just talking fitness a little bit before we went live, and you guys have a really unique publication. I think it's called Crackle, if I'm not mistaken. They're on your website. I'm going to go ahead and put up your website so that people, if you're watching, brothershelpingbrothers.org, right at the bottom there. And if you're listening, you just heard what I said, hopefully. And go on the website because, Nick, I think you do a fantastic job of painting the entire picture of what firefighters are dealing with on a daily basis, whether it be, career, full-time, but you especially highlight the volunteers and doing fundraisers and getting them the valuable gear that they need.
Yeah, so Brothers Helping Brothers, it was founded in 2014 after a firefighter friend of mine passed away. It wasn't a line of duty death that necessarily could have been proven. He contracted a H1N1 flu, which, crazy to think that would kill somebody, but especially a fairly healthy 40-year-old male, but it did. And after he passed away, we were we were trying to raise money to help pay for his medical bills because he was, again, a part-time volunteer firefighter like the rest of us. And after he passed away, we decided to parlay that effort into at least paying for raising money for his daughter, who he left behind, a 13-year-old daughter. So we through a bunch of different efforts of like a fish fry and gun raffle and t-shirt sales and all that stuff, we were able to raise over $25,000, and we started a college fund for his daughter. After we did that, we're like, hey, this is real easy. We should, start helping more people, right?
Yeah.
And that was wrong, but we decided to start a nonprofit organization that would specifically help small rural fire departments. Art was the firefighter that passed away. He was passionate about being a firefighter where we were. We were in a town of 500 people, so it wasn't like it was a huge place. And we didn't have all the tools to do our jobs, but we make it work. That's what firefighters do, right? Yeah. So we decided to, since that was a passion of his, that's what we would do as well. And so since then, we've been able to, raise funds and provide tools and equipment to small and rural fire departments across the United States. And last count, we've donated to 16 different departments, all the way from New Jersey to, I think, Texas is as far as we've gone out west. But it's amazing to kind of see, as somebody who goes out to talk to these departments, give them stuff to help do their job. It's crazy to see how small is, because often the departments that we're helping have a budget of under $200,000. Wow. And, so a lot of it's, basically they're paying for just the fuel the trucks up and things like that. And, everything else is done off of fundraisers or chicken dinners or whatever. And, I distinctly remember we helped a department in Eastern Kentucky, and they had 2 air packs for the entire department. And we were able to give them 4 air packs and a RIT pack for rapid intervention. And, that's probably the only RIT pack that's probably in the county.
Wow.
It was used, but it's better than nothing. And so, what we try to do is either try to raise the funds to provide that equipment, or try to find departments that we can pair, somebody who has a surplus that might be usable, that we can get it to another department and get them, something that they need. So
that's fantastic. And we're talking fundraising, we're talking gear, we're talking everything firefighter with the executive director of Brothers Helping Brothers, Nick Magoteaux. We got to take a quick break. We will be right back.
Every business needs a dependable junk hauling service to keep their property clutter-free. Call 630-470-8307. Junk Luggers offers a wide range of eco-friendly residential and commercial junk removal services to help your business run smoothly and efficiently. Book your no-obligation estimate with Junk Luggers today. Banks and credit unions have unique junk, and Junk Luggers knows the business. Professional organizers, senior living communities, we're helping everyone clean up and start new. If you're redecorating, remodeling, or getting ready for new tenants, Junk Luggers will donate, recycle, and do our best to keep it out of the landfill. Call 630-470-8307. That's 630-470-8307 today.
Hey, welcome back to the award-winning Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. And we want to welcome back Nick with Brothers Helping Brothers out of Ohio. We've been discussing volunteer fire departments throughout the country. And you brought up a great point just before we took the break, Nick, was the fundraising aspect of getting these guys gear to do their job, the proper gear to do their job. And when you look at firefighters' turnout gear, Scott pack, just the stuff to keep them safe, you're looking probably at around $3,500 to $4,000 per firefighter, correct? Or am I off base now?
Well, I mean, it's actually kind of raised a little bit more than that. I mean, just your air pack alone can be up to $7,000.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Think about having a radio. Depending on the type of radio you have, that could be a couple $1,000. Just the gear itself. So a pair of pair of PPE pants and jacket, you're talking about, somewhere in the realms of $2,000 to $3,000. So,
so yeah, I was a little off. So I mean,
yeah.
and I'm talking, back when I was a firefighter. I mean, now this stuff has evolved into more safety equipment, and reflectives and stuff, and heat sinks. You look at a thermal imaging camera that is dire for a firefighter to perform a rescue. A regular tick camera, what are they running in about 10 grand, maybe more?
Anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000. I mean, it's when you think about firefighting, you think about the fire truck, and you think about the hose and the ladders and things like that. But there's a lot of other smaller things that are out there that some departments don't have or can't afford to have, and
right, the life-saving equipment that they need.
Absolutely, especially if your department wants to be a department that goes into the fires, because I mean there's some departments out there that don't have the means to even go inside a burning building because they don't have that equipment.
Right.
And as you talk about even your fire gear and stuff like that, fortunately, unfortunately, gear has a shelf life too. So a lot of departments, especially the smaller rural departments, they're not able to keep up with the standards of today.
Yep.
As gear is supposed to be only used for 10 years, and then it's supposed to be phased out.
You brought up let me just stop you real quick on that. You brought up a good point about it's supposed to be phased out. Now, for those who are just watching and listening, the fire service is run by OSHA, right? So you have to follow OSHA regulations. Now, if a firefighter is wearing a turnout coat or turnout pants and gets burned, and that turnout coat and stuff was not up to OSHA regulations or was supposed to be decommissioned, there's a good chance that he will lose out on any funds for his family or medical care because he was wearing improper equipment in some states.
Yeah, that could be. I do know. OSHA is definitely a regulatory body, and they're going to use, obviously the standards that are set forth by the NFPA.
Right.
NFPA regulates that the gear should be no more than 10 years old. And I have seen in other research, that departments that have been cited by OSHA for having gear that's been over 10 years or not inspecting their gear on a regular basis or things like that. So it is a concern. It can be a liability issue for the town or agency that the fire department is under. So, but I mean, it's definitely a struggle because, having to buy gear every 10 years is sometimes an unrealistic possibility. And, I've been to departments where they've said we can't do that. We're not able to do that. We have to do with what we can. And, and that's the interesting thing about, the fire service is it's kind of, it's kind of all over the map sometimes when you talk about funding. You have departments that are, well funded, like you said, with Long Island. A lot of the volunteer departments on Long Island, they've got great funding. They've got a great tax base. They've got, the top of the line everything. And then, you talk about, rural Eastern Kentucky, and they don't, they're lucky to have a truck that runs. And
well, it's like here, you go to the rural areas of Texas, out west. Those guys, they get one driver to take the truck to the fire, and everybody responds to the fire in their cars, their own personal vehicles, and they keep their gear in their car. And there's a lot that goes into this, and our country, our government, our whole way of thinking. We give to everybody else, but we kind of put the firefighters on the back burner. We kind of put our first responders on the back burner when it comes to safety equipment and medical care and post-traumatic stress. And, because I think a lot of the politicians and a lot of the parts of the government in certain areas look at us as robots. Like, all right, they're not complaining because firefighters and cops rarely complain. They'll complain to each other. They'll complain to their spouses, but they won't complain. They won't get out there because they have the passion and drive to do their job. That's what they were born. That's the cloth they were cut from.
Yep.
And they don't complain. So they kind of get put on a back burner in a lot of places, and they're not valued as high as they should be in a lot of governmental agencies' eyes.
Well, and I think that's some of the problem, right? When you talk about like my organization, it's hard to, you could make an argument that nonprofits, are able to raise funds by storytelling, right? By showing you a compassionate story of why you should give to them. It's a little difficult for us because, firefighters aren't going to be the ones to tell you, hey, I didn't have the right tool to do this job because, hey, I might not have tool A, but I've got tool B, and I'll make tool B work as well as it can, to overcompensate for tool A. And, no one says that. I mean, when a fire happens, a fire truck shows up, right? There's no not showing up. And that's the interesting part. I mean, I think a lot of, especially, the common citizen doesn't necessarily think like when I call 911, somebody's going to show up. And, in that case, yeah, they might show up, but they might not be, fully prepared to deal with that emergency. And that's, where we have to kind of bridge the gap, right? Where we have to say, listen, there is an issue out here, especially, in your rural America, that not only do you have departments that are might not have necessarily the right equipment, but you have a volunteer base that is just crumbling. The volunteerism is just, completely on the decline. And, so that makes it even harder for these departments because instead of, allocating money to buy tools and equipment, they're allocating money to pay somebody to, stay on duty and things like that. And it just kind of perpetuates the circle. The department that I originally started working for, that was our case. We were paid minimum wage, which when you think about it is almost insane. We were paid minimum wage, and that was pretty right. And that was pretty much, the all the money that we had. We had enough to put fuel in the trucks and pay payroll and maybe buy a tool here and there. But, when it came to those big purchases, like, purchasing a new fire truck or purchasing a new ambulance or purchasing a new thermal imaging camera or, new turnout gear, things like that, those were major purchases that, would have to be put off longer and longer and longer because the tax base wasn't there to, allow for people to be paid and to have the newer equipment as well.
Well,
we're talking to Nick Magoteaux from Brothers Helping Brothers, the realities of firefighting. We got to take a quick break. We will be right back.
What is the role of American government anyway? Is the role of government to decide where I can go and where I can't? Is the role of government to work tirelessly to destroy vital infrastructure that keeps goods and services from my customers? Is the role of government to choose who can drive, fly, or ride according to mandated stipulations that threaten my body, health, mind, and conscience? Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Your voice, your feet, your vote, not just at the ballot box, but training to be a poll watcher, precinct chair, judge, or early ballot counter, so you are doing all you can to protect the fairly counted American vote. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America, because my voice
and my voice,
together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. My dogs are barking in the background and going crazy, so somebody's got to be at my door. But they'll get over it. And we are talking with Nick with Brothers Helping Brothers out of Ohio. And we're talking about something that's very rarely talked about, and it's the volunteer fire service throughout our country and the state of emergency that they are pretty much in. So I'm going to take a quick break and go figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so let me pick up from where John is leaving off to address what's going on. I want to talk about specifically in the organization with the time that we have left is how can people get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, obviously, what we're trying to do is either spread the word. So, anything that you could do to help spread that word, whether it be by social media, um, any route like that, talking about our organization, getting out there, donating, obviously, having a fundraising campaign. Every little bit dollar helps. When it comes to our organization, we pride ourselves on being able to, as far as our organization structure, we're unpaid volunteers. So none of us take any money for what we do. We have very little overhead costs. So a lot of the money that we raise goes directly to the cause that we're doing. I'd say, we're somewhere around between 90 and 95 cents from every dollar is going towards, either what we're doing, as far as conferences or putting tools in the hands of those who need it. So any dollar amount helps. Obviously spreading awareness and letting people know that our organization's out there. We're a small organization, but we try to make as much big impact as possible. So it's been, it's kind of crazy because we do get obviously a lot more requests than we can obviously handle, but we try to do as best as we can with the funds that we have and get it out there, get firefighters what they need.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job, not only addressing for the small rural departments, getting them that equipment. I mean, we just used this last segment to talk about the equipment, the regulations. Nobody wants to hear that their department doesn't have what they need to adequately fight fires. I mean, it should be a community concern. So if you are watching or listening and you live in a smaller town, hey, pop by your local firehouse, ask them what they need, have a conversation, show that you're a concerned citizen, but that you're thinking about your neighborhood and what it would mean to the firefighters in your area, especially if they're volunteer, to have you rally around them. Reach out to Brothers Helping Brothers. Their website is brothershelpingbrothers.org. And talk to Nick. Have a conversation about how you make it happen, because it sounds like, you get as creative as you want to, but the huge reward is making the firefighters safer, which means your community is safer across the board. Nick, any final thoughts that you have for firefighters, for firefighters' families that may be listening? Of course, get to your health and wellness conference. And when is that? When and where?
So it's October 25th or 26th, 27th, and 28th in Beaver Creek, Ohio, suburb of Dayton. It's at the Hilton Garden Inn. If you go to our website, there's a link there, or you can go to events.brothershelpingbrothers.org and sign up from there. My advice to any firefighter listening or family listening is take your health seriously. Make sure that you're doing those small steps to reduce your risks, and obviously, for the younger firefighters, you're not going to live forever. So making sure that you do this now while you're still young is going to ensure that you live long and retire healthy and be able to live a healthy retirement as well.
Oh, yeah. Those are
Let me add one more thing on that. And to everybody that's listening, when we look at these grassroots organizations such as Brothers Helping Brothers, they're small, charity-based, that give back to the communities. Remember these small grassroots organizations when they come around and when they have their fundraisers, because it is so important. If you look throughout our country, this is what's raising money for our first responders, our veterans. And there's a lot of men and women that put a lot of time into their daily lives on top of their own work schedules, their own family schedules, to make sure they're making a difference in someone else's life. And Brothers Helping Brothers is doing that. They're hitting a very critical issue when it comes to rural fire departments and the life-saving measures that need to be taken, and the equipment that they need to have. So, before you go donating to one of these big charity events, look at these grassroots, because these are the guys that have really got the boots on the ground and are really making a difference within a community. And you said, it's one community at a time. You can't help out everybody, but like me and Sam always say, if you save one life, you can't save them all, but you could save at least one at a time. You could save
Absolutely.
one community at a time. And I think Brothers Helping Brothers is doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us this evening. I left the website up there. Again, it's brothershelpingbrothers.org. There's a donate button right at the top. Go on there, John. You make a great point and help these guys out. Nick, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, John, for having me on the show.
Hey,
You
you're
bet.
very
We'll
welcome.
be in touch.
Talk to you soon, Nick.
Sounds great.
God
Thank
bless.
you so much.
All right. Night. Wow, that was fantastic. Again, brothershelpingbrothers.org. Think small when it comes to giving big. There you go. That's a tagline.
I like that. I like that
I just
tagline.
made that up. Okay. So
I love that tagline.
Yeah. Think small when you think. Yeah, when you want to give big. It
Write
is
that down.
important.
Write that down, or you're going to forget it.
We can't have healthy communities without our firefighters. Just like we can't have healthy communities without our police officers. So let's think about that. And the healing aspect. Nick is having a great health and wellness event at the end of this month. There's a lot of things going on for health, wellness, and healing. And the 22nd, well, first we'll be out at IACP. Let's not forget IACP, which starts on Sunday. That's when the exhibits open, when the vendors open. Starts Thursday, goes all the way through next Tuesday, but the vendor and exhibit hall will be open Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Come on out and visit with us, and we'll introduce you to some amazing people. So thank you, IACP, for having us out this year, and yay, thank you for doing it in Dallas. So we don't have to go travel all over the place. We also have the 22nd of the month, okay, of every single month on the calendar. Mark it out. 6:30 p.m. Here in Rowlett, as well as in Fort Worth. We are walking the bridge. What does that mean? We're bringing awareness to the suicide epidemic for our veterans and our first responder communities, numbers well over 22 a day. So we walk a ceremonial 22 miles on the 22nd of every month. And you can find out more by visiting walkthebridge.org. We've got details, and find out where it is happening in your area. We have different events going on across the nation and internationally.
And
So yes, and internationally. We're global, folks. So walkthebridge.org right there. This October 22nd, special day, because we have a day of healing here in Rowlett at 8:30 a.m. We are doing, in conjunction with our partners at Heroes on the Water, kayak fishing for first responders, first responder families. Small, making it intimate. We only have 10 boats. So if you would like to get yourself signed up to come out for a really incredible just experience out on the water, kayak fishing. We got breakfast, we got lunch coming, but to spend time together as a first responder community, what you want to do is you want to visit a badgeofhonor.com. You want to click on our events tab, and it will take you You look at we've got a calendar up there, just click on it and register. It's critical that you register so that you can be assigned a boat. So we don't want you to miss out. So that's the 22nd of this month. Come on out in the morning, 8:30 a.m. here in Rowlett, and then stay, and you'll end the evening with us 6:30 p.m. With Walk the Bridge. Again, it's all on at badgeofhonor.com. Just click on that events tab. And, I would be remiss again. It is World Mental Health Day. A huge shout out to Axon for having us out today, to Grand Prairie PD, the Axon Road Show. We talk about the healing aspect or first responders of our veterans, and we need to talk about one of, I'm going to brag on them big time. I love the folks that carry the load. Been involved with them since 2015. Continue to participate, and we are, John, it's a blessing to be partnered, national nonprofit partners with Carry the Load. They are really all about health, wellness, healing, equipment, awareness, you name it, making sure our active military, our veteran community, and our first responders, law enforcement, EMS, firefighters, dispatch, that we are a community that is taken care of in a way where they're able to give some funds out each year. And
I was going to say that, Sam. I was going to say that about Carry the Load. They're like that hub of all the grassroots organizations throughout the country, and they help those grassroots organizations help their communities.
Exactly.
And I think that is a well-needed organization. It's a well-oiled machine that really does a wonderful job each and every event that they run, because there are so many organizations that need their help.
Yes, and if you saw our vehicles lately, we have our vehicles that are logoed. Thanks to Skins Wrap, that's Skins with a Z in Dallas, and we've got our partners on there. We've got Heroes on the Water. We've got Carry the Load on there because we don't do this by ourselves. Okay, and one of our major partners is the Garland Police Department. On Veterans Day, November 11th, we will be out at Garland PD with another 8-hour workshop, Healing Our Heroes. Let's talk about what post-traumatic stress injury is. Let's talk about how we work through it, because we know that the longer we're in our jobs, we're going to have some issues.
Yes.
And
right.
It's about building your resiliency toolbox. Let's do it now. Let's do it together. And John, take us home.
Man, you just said it all, but it's building that resiliency toolbox, becoming vulnerable, becoming transparent with your issues, not being afraid to share your inner demons and start the process of healing. We hear you, other people hear you, but you guys got to take the first step. Take that first step. It's hard, but you know what? It's so much easier to walk that path and that journey for the rest of your life once you start speaking how you feel. And then we'll help you in the workshops. Stay mentally healthy, stay physical healthy, and stay nutritionally healthy. And you'll see your body becomes more imbalanced, and you'll work out. Your mindset will refocus out of the stress that you deal with each and every day. But that's about it, Sam. And until next week, we hear you. You are not alone. And if you can do anything in this world, please be kind.
Take care, John. Thanks, everybody.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.